Good afternoon, welcome back to T3. And in today's show, we have a very sobering kind of report around the coronavirus issues and kind of how it's affecting the IT supply scenario. Now, this is going to hit everybody. And I think the first thing we need to pay special attention to, and the most important factor here, is the loss of human life that's going on at the moment. The Chinese government is doing a lot, some good, some bad, trying to do everything in their power, it would seem. I don't particularly agree with how they're covering up the numbers around this scenario. They've said that more than 1,600 people have died in China, and they've reported something like tens of thousands of infections. But the reality is it's probably in the hundreds of thousands, and there's entire cities and stuff of people that are being locked down and welded shut in their houses.
我今天已经上了一天的班，已经下班了，4点多钟下班，已经在那里崩溃了半天了，真的那种感染，比这个电视那里报道的可怕不过了，蛮多，他们医生出来的估计大概有10万人，我们今天那里10几个医生。一天都看了100多个，蛮多都已经不行了，没得位置治。我的不是说到你们那里治吗？但是政府让我们开始治，根本什么物资都没有，他们想办志愿都办不了。我觉得后续完全不行，我们在这上一天班，整个人的心里都快崩溃了，都已经受不了了。他们在这求我们的时候，我们都一点办法都没得。就看到一个好生生的人，叫他慢慢的都不行，所以你们在屋里一定要做好防护。
So big time thoughts and prayers kind of vibe for them, guys. It's energy counts for a lot. So if you guys can pay some attention to that and help with some positivity, I think they definitely need it. There's videos emerging from within the city of Wuhan of the people in the city singing to each other and trying to keep their spirits up, which is quite moving and stuff, but obviously, once again, that loss of life at the moment is quite hectic. Now, the infection area that they're talking about there is about 11 million people that are stuck in that city that have been quarantined off in Wuhan. And the outbreak levels and the infection rate is far worse than the SARS outbreak was before, or H1N1 or any of the other swine or Spanish flus before that. It's dwarfed all of those kind of things quite rapidly. Our government hasn't done the best job of shutting down our airports and that kind of stuff. So as a preventative, I really would suggest that you guys, if you are traveling, go out and get yourself a mask. For general day-to-day kind of running around and stuff, you should be fine. But airports at the moment are going to be a bit of a cesspool chance of infection. A lot of the governments are not really reacting to this because the reports are just not supporting a need for that reaction. At the moment, in the World Health Organization side, I think it's on stage 3. We'll confirm that with a graphic. So it is on their radar and there is a big alert for it, but it's kind of, I think a lot of the time the government is trying to avoid panic, and that's why they aren't being as forthcoming with information. It's obviously a feels bad from the preventative side, but we'll just have to hope that they make the right decisions where all of these people are concerned. Right, so how does it affect us in the IT supply department? Well, currently, the only manufacturers that have been reopened in China for the most part are your tier 1 manufacturers. Guys like Apple and Foxconn and Samsung have their factories reopened. There are a lot of companies that have external factories that aren't kind of affected by this, but a lot of your motherboard manufacturers and graphics card manufacturers like Asus and MSI that rely on finishing products from these other smaller plants aren't getting those. So to give you an idea, it takes about 10 different factories to produce a motherboard, and it's all finished and fitted and produced finally at MSI or Asus's factory. And those finishing parts aren't arriving. So there is going to be a supply gap. We assume it's going to be about 4 to 6 months that this is going to be taking place, and one of the areas that's going to be most affected is GPUs. Now, our encouragement alongside of this is just to take it easy, not to rush out and cause a buying frenzy because there's a shortage. Please don't do things like buying up GPUs and then reselling them on Carbonite at a profit. It's just a very dirty kind of practice right now, and it's taking advantage of loss of human life and a tragedy that's happening in China. So please, guys, kind of behave, normally with your purchasing. Evetech is going to do absolutely everything it can to fulfill your orders, and as we say, there are some areas that should be relatively unaffected. Evetech has purchased a backlog of stock on motherboards and processors, so those areas should be relatively unaffected for quite a long time. But there are going to be product shortages. We are doing everything we can to try and get in stock. It basically is their rhetoric and their voice through this channel of what they're saying is they're going to try and do everything that they can possible to try and get your guys' orders in. But we ask you just for patience during this difficult time as we try and sort this out with all of our suppliers. Thank you all so much for watching. We do wish you the best. Hopefully you guys can stay safe. Remember, prevention is better than cure. Keep yourself nicely, hands washed, mouth and that kind of stuff. Try to be very hygienic at the moment. And as I say, if you are traveling, it is in your best interest to purchase a mask and perhaps even eye goggles. It does look like contact can last for up to 10 days on physical touch contact. So if you guys are using, shared like lavatories and that kind of stuff, just be very conscious of where your hands are and what they're touching. Wishing you guys the best of luck during this difficult time, and hopefully some better news next week as we continue to cover this story. Thank you and have a good day.